Commerce Alive Today presents
Blimpie. The first Blimpie sub shop was opened in Hoboken, New Jersey, in 1964 by Tony Conza, Peter DiCarlo, and Angelo Bandisere, a trio of former high school buddies. Inspired by a successful Point Pleasant, New Jersey, operation called Mike's Submarines, Conza, DiCarlo, and Bandisere speculated that a similar restaurant would do well in Hoboken. They raised $2,500 in seed capital by borrowing from friends and began serving essentially the same sandwich for which people were lining up at Mike's. The original Blimpie was an instant hit, and, before long, customers began asking about starting up franchises. The first franchise was sold to a friend in western New York for $600 during the company's first year of operation. In 1965, Bandisere left the company to start his own food service supply firm. Conza and DiCarlo decided to expand into New York City, beginning with a store on 55th Street in Manhattan, near Carnegie Hall. By 1967 there were 10 Blimpies in the chain, 4 of which were owned by the company's 2 remaining founders. Unfortunately, Conza and DiCarlo were not experienced businessmen, and, in spite of the chain's rapid growth and good sales volume, profits were difficult to make. To keep the company afloat, the partners sold the 4 stores they owned and began to concentrate primarily on franchising. By the mid-1970s, Conza felt the time was ripe to introduce Blimpie subs to the South. Partner DiCarlo, however, was against the move. This disagreement eventually led to a split between the two men. In 1976, Blimpie was divided into 2 separate entities, with both retaining rights to the Blimpie trademark. DiCarlo became head of a new, completely independent company, Metropolitan Blimpie, later renamed Blimpies of New York Incorporated, which controlled franchising rights in New York, New Jersey, and other parts of the East Coast. Conza retained control of the original company, which was incorporated in 1977 as International Blimpie Corporation. Conza, a college dropout with no business credentials other than his experience with Blimpie, remained chairman and CEO of Blimpie through January 2002. During the late 1970s, Conza was willing to sell franchises anywhere there was an interested franchisee. Blimpie began selling franchises both for individual stores and for whole territories. Unfortunately, many of these new franchises were rather isolated from the rest of the chain, and some of the benefits of franchise arrangements, chain-wide advertising, for example, had little effect in those locations. Although the chain was growing rapidly, several of the newer stores failed. By 1983, International Blimpie's annual revenues were approaching $1 million, and Blimpie's franchises totaled 150. Conza took the company public that year, with a modest initial over-the-counter offering of 90 cents per share. Over the next few years, Blimpie embarked on a diversification program that failed miserably. Conza began to feel that there was no future in submarine sandwiches. At the same time, he longed for the kind of respect that comes only to real restaurateurs, not fast food moguls. In 1984, Conza opened the Border Cafe, a tablecloth restaurant serving southwestern cuisine on Manhattan's swanky Upper East Side. Although the Border Cafe did reasonably well at first, this shift in focus proved to be a major blunder. While Conza was turning his attention away from the subs that had gotten him where he was, competitor Subway, which was founded in 1965, just a year after the first Blimpies was opened, was beginning an expansion drive that would push it far ahead of Blimpie as the world's foremost submarine sandwich chain. To reflect his increasing concentration on non-Blimpie activities, Conza changed the name of the company to Astor Restaurant Group Incorporated in October 1986. Meanwhile, the Blimpies chain was stagnating. The number of outlets was stalled at about 200. In Manhattan, the company's birthplace, the Blimpie name suffered severe image problems. In the early days, the company had not been particularly selective as to who could get a franchise. In addition, its early franchise contracts allowed operators quite a bit of latitude in how the restaurants were to be run. This led to a degree of uniformity among stores far below that of other national fast food chains, not to mention a reputation for questionable sanitation standards. After the Border Cafe's initial success, Kanza opened two more of them in 1986, one in Woodstock, New York, and the other with New York Yankee Dave Winfield as a partner on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. Unfortunately, the Border Cafe idea turned out to be a big money loser. Although Astor brought in $4.5 million in revenues for 1987, the company showed a net loss of $347,800 for the year. That year, only 30 new Blimpie restaurants were opened, and company stock was in free fall, bottoming out as low as 15 cents per share. Gradually, Kanza's interest in his core business began to return. Over the next couple of years, Atlanta became the company's biggest target for new Blimpie's franchises. In 1987, the company celebrated the opening of the 50th Blimpie store in the Atlanta area by giving away 25,000 free sandwiches to customers there. By 1988, Kanza had realized the error of his ways, and he quickly got out of the Tex-Mex business. Seeing the tremendous success of Subway, Kanza decided to redouble his efforts in the hoagie arena. He began to address the Blimpie problem with renewed vigor and a more systematic approach than he had used before. The first step in Kanza's revitalization program was to identify four fundamental problems plaguing the business: a lack of goals, poor use of financial resources, low employee morale, and procrastination. He then got together with a group of managers and drew up a list of 101 small improvements. Delegating to his senior staff much of the day-to-day managing he had always done himself, Kanza went on the road in an attempt to open up the long-closed channels of communication between Blimpie and its franchisees. The Blimpie chain continued to grow steadily through the early 1990s. Much of this growth was fueled by the company's area developer program, in which franchise rights were sold for an entire area to a developer, who then sub-franchised those rights to individual operators. The company continued testing new products throughout this period. In 1991, Blimpie unveiled its Quick Bite menu in response to the appearance of value menus in many fast food establishments, including arch-rival Subway. Items on the Quick Bite menu included 3-inch hero sandwiches for 99 cents, a 6-inch bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich for $1.59, and a veggie pocket pita sandwich, also priced at $1.59. The company also began testing pizza at a handful of locations in an effort to breathe some life into its dinner business. Kanza's attempts to improve franchisee relations continued as well. The company's first annual franchisee convention was held in 1991. By the beginning of 1992, there were Blimpie restaurants in 27 states. That year, the chain passed the 500-unit mark and the company changed its name to Blimpie International Incorporated, reflecting the renewed focus on the sub-brand. In the spring of 1993, Blimpie began trading its stock on the up-and-coming NASDAQ exchange. Around this time, the company began to sink more resources into advertising than it had in the past, doubling its marketing budget to about $2 million per year. A new advertising campaign was launched, encompassing just about every medium available, including television, radio, print, and point of purchase. This campaign marked the introduction of the chain's new tagline, "Simply Blimpie for fresh sliced subs." Some of the television spots featured people on the street struggling to repeat the tongue-twisting phrase, "Simply Blimpie." Sales throughout the Blimpie system reached $132 million by 1993, and Blimpie International earned $1 million on $12 million in revenue. By autumn of that year, the chain had grown to 670 outlets. Improved marketing support from the parent company helped reduce the rate of franchise failures from 10% to 3%. In some cases, such as in the brutally competitive Chicago market, Kanza allowed franchisees to divert their 6% annual franchise fee to advertising. As the 1990s continued, Blimpie came up with a new concept that accelerated the chain's growth even further. Blimpie's franchises began appearing in a variety of non-traditional locations. First, it was convenience stores. As convenience store proprietors began to seek out new ways to compensate for declining cigarette sales, they started turning to fast food. Blimpie's was the natural choice for many, for two main reasons: a real kitchen was not required, and startup costs were relatively low, as little as $35,000 compared with other fast food operations. Among the early non-traditional sites for Blimpie's outlets were the Des Moines, Iowa-based Come-Go convenience store chain, Texaco Food Marts in Mississippi, and the food court at the University of Texas. Blimpie's also became part of the first Home Depot Superstore restaurant section, located in Atlanta. In 1994, the 800th Blimpie, in Iron City, Michigan, was opened. That year, the company launched several new concepts to further its drive for non-traditional venues. The Blimpie kiosk was a movable, condensed restaurant that could fit into a 100 square foot area. The kiosk, which could serve 4 types of sandwiches, drinks, and side orders, was designed for use at stadiums, fairs, and other special events. Another new idea was the movable display cart, suitable for high-traffic areas such as airports, college campuses, and concerts. Other new wrinkles included a special refrigerated case for convenience stores, Blimpie's fastest-growing market, and the Blimpie Bakery, offering a variety of baked goods aimed at boosting early morning business. Blimpie reached 2 major milestones in 1995. Largely on the strength of its non-traditional location push, the chain passed the 1,000 outlet mark that year. Blimpie International also lived up to the second word in its name for the first time in company history, with the opening of a location in Stockholm, Sweden. As the 1990s continued, the company looked for more new ways to sell Blimpie sandwiches, including vending machines, outlets in supermarkets, and new types of carts and other mobile product delivery systems. With the opening of new outlets in the United States slowing and with overseas growth occurring only at a very slow pace, there were only 61 overseas locations in 15 countries by 2001. Blimpie launched a new diversification effort in the late 1990s. The first such initiative came late in 1997 when the company acquired a 75% stake in Maui Tacos, a fast food chain with 6 units in Hawaii. This concept featured traditional quick-service Mexican food, such as burritos, tacos, and quesadillas, but with a Hawaiian twist, such as meat marinated in pineapple, lime, and other Hawaiian flavorings. Under Blimpie's majority ownership, Maui Tacos was soon introduced to the mainland, and by 2001 there were 15 such units in 9 states and the District of Columbia. As Blimpie's struggles continued, net income having fallen below $100,000 for the fiscal year ending in June 2001, investors showed little interest in the company, and the price of the company's stock sagged. Seeing little benefit in being a publicly traded firm, Blimpie joined the growing ranks of restaurant companies fleeing the public market. In October 2001, a private investor group led by Jeffrey K. Endervelt, owner of the 44-unit Blimpie of California sub-franchise, agreed to buy Blimpie International for $25.7 million. The transaction was completed in January 2002, whereupon Endervelt took over as chairman, president, and CEO, and Kanza, who was a partner in the investor group, remained involved at the company but in an advisory capacity. Although Blimpie remained far behind Subway in the battle for hoagie supremacy, the new ownership and leadership perhaps signaled the beginning of a brighter era for Blimpie. In 2006, Kahala Corporation acquired Blimpie, and it became the 10th brand franchised by the franchisor. Around 2009, also around the time they changed their logo, the brand came to Kuwait. However, by 2020 most of the locations had shut down, but there's still a location at the Kuwait International Airport. By 2011, the number of Blimpie locations had fallen to 739 stores, and revenue was down to just over $110 million. In 2016, MTY Food Group Incorporated struck a deal valued at more than $300 million to acquire Arizona-based Kahala Brands Limited and its 2,900 locations in 25 countries. As of 2023, there were 2 Blimpie restaurants in Singapore, 1 in Kinex and 1 in 313 Somerset. However, these shut down in May 2023. As of September 2025, Blimpie only has 156 locations left and nearing the bottom of the end of the company, as it might disappear from the landscape soon and forever.
Look how cute the Boopie!
Blimpie.
The Boopie wants her blankie!
Blimpie.
Mommy's gonna get Boopie the blankie.
Can you say blankie?
Blimpie.
Blankie.
Blimpie.
Blankie.
Everyone's going gaga over the fresh sliced deli meat and fresh baked bread of a Blimpie.
Feed 4 with the picnic pack, just $19.95 at any Tucson or Sierra Vista Blimpie subs and
If
salads.
you have any fond memories, please indicate it at the comments below. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and like.